time to move on to another category, pal. And this might be my favorite category in the book right here. You see it right there. I'm not going to say it again, but you guys know where it's available. The Lunatic. Let me explain to you what the Lunatic is. And basically, it's exactly what you think it is. The Lunatic is sort of the beefed up on steroid version of the hot mess that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. But when we're talking about lunatics in the context of politics, it goes along the same line that we talk about with any sort of lunacy. You have moments that trigger people, followed by the emotional hijack. Let me just read you something quickly from the book. The typical freakout has the same two-step process, the trigger and the emotional hijack. A trigger is something somebody says that you find offensive, judgmental, shaming, or anxiety-producing, otherwise known as triggered for all you guys out there. A behavior that hits a bruised bone of yours, an overwhelming fear that you may have been trying to suppress, a person, place, or thing that brings up a feeling of shame or fear. This is basically the Democrats to a T. Really anything that your deep brain deems to be a threat. Next comes the emotional hijack with throes of emotion, and the person becomes quickly out of balance because everything validates the trigger, and you react as if it was the only truth, which leads to, as we've seen at inauguration, screaming, crying, shutting down, or worse. This is basically every liberal stereotype that you've ever heard of, pal.
Yeah, and what makes this challenging, and I'm sure people that are listening think this too, is it's very hard to put people into these boxes because most people who are involved in politics can easily slide into and out of multiple categories or be in several categories simultaneously, right? So we have some interesting nominees here, but obviously a lot of these people could fit into other groups as well.
Oh, absolutely. The idea of hybrid buffoonery is discussed in the book as well. Anyone can be any number of combination at the same time or possess the traits of any combination in their own buffoonish nature, in their own sense of self, or in their outward self that they portray out in politics. So the first nominee, I did this last night, but I don't know if many people saw it. I'm not going to introduce the first nominee. Ross, we got a special guest to unveil the first nominee, and this announcement, it took a lot for me to get this, but this is pretty cool. So, mystery guest announced the first nominee.
Jamal Bowman!
Miracle! President Camacho! Hold on, why you turn that off? Keep that going.
Can we please move on?
We're gonna show them who the fuck we are.
Say again?
We're gonna show them who the fuck we are.
That's what I thought you said.
And on June 25th at 11 o'clock at night, once we win this race, inshallah, we will be liberated.
How'd that go?
NBC projects that George Latimer has defeated incumbent Representative Jamal Bowman.
Awkward. America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
It's coming. Why you mess it up? Damn, I'm in the zone up here.
He's a back-to-back nominee. He was nominated last year as well. Jamal Bowman is a lunatic. Tell me when I'm lying.
Bro, completely insane. For those of you guys who don't remember, that's the same guy who pulled a fire alarm in a Capitol complex building during a vote, right? Should have been charged with the January 6th charge of obstructing an official proceeding, but wasn't. I think he was charged with a misdemeanor, and really nothing ever happened to him because of that. But he lost his seat, right? The guy's a lunatic. The bigger lunatics really are the white dudes in that audience. Like those guys obviously were white dudes for Harris type people, ballless, testosterone-less dudes in an audience like that. Jamal Bowman hates you. He hates white people. Very racist dude, and he's nuts.
He certainly turned out that way during the debate that we watched when we did a reaction video to it, which, by the way, I want to point out for the record, Gene was right this time, because when I was scheduling what debates to watch, and I said to Ross, hey, we got to watch this Bowman-Latimer debate between these two Democrats in upstate New York. He's like, why? What the hell's going to come of this? And it turns out a lot came out of that. The demise of the first member of the squad came out of that.
And I remember telling you, Gene, like, you're insane. There's no way. He's so crazy that he will win. Like, there's no way he's going to get knocked off by a person of color in that district. And you were right. I have to say, I definitely read that wrong.
Well, the district changed in some ways, but certainly the taste in that district turned in some ways because of Bowman's position concerning the conflict between Israel and Hamas. That district had a significant Jewish population in Westchester County. Bowman won areas in the Bronx that included like areas like Co-op City. For those of you who are watching from outside of the People's Republic of New York, Co-op City, Northern Bronx, definitely a majority-minority area. Places up in Westchester that he was representing, not so much. So it broke along sort of this ethnocentric line, not necessarily race, but certainly Israel played a big part of it, and by extension, AIPAC, the American Israeli Political Action Committee, they put a ton of money into this race to help Latimer win the day.
And the last thing I want to say on this is, other than the strength of AIPAC, which, you know, there's lots of stuff online about that, but I'm not going there. I think another, like, not untold but undertold story was the kiss of death from AOC. A good percentage, if not a plurality, of the candidates that majority, I should say, of candidates that she fully went all in on, lost.
Including
competitive races.
Including in the competitive race just north of where we're talking about, between Mike Lawler, the incumbent Republican, and Mondaire Jones. Lawler was running ads connecting AOC to Mondaire Jones the whole time and how he was pro-defund the police and all that.
The pride of New York right now, Mondaire Jones.
AOC's proud of Mondaire Jones because they shared the same radical agenda.
Need to end mass incarceration and defund the police.
Jones wanted to defund police, just like AOC.
Mondaire Jones was moderating his positions, trying to show that he's not like AOC, and he still lost, just to put a fine point on what Galloway was saying there. But Jamal Bowman, complete and total lunatic. You had to see it during the debate. You saw it on stage there, and he's hitting the bricks now, although you never know with the People's Republic of New York City. There can always be a comeback in the offing in a year, 2 years. Who the heck knows? There's another member of the squad who is shown the door, and she's another nominee for the Lunatic, and that's Cori Bush. Let's show everybody why.
This is the thing.
Well, we're waiting.
All you did was take some of the strings off.
I'm not a puppet. I'm a real boy.
Let's be clear. 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 Let's be clear.
Just get to it already.
All they did was radicalize me, and so now they be afraid.
Are you threatening me?
AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
Sounds like sour grapes to me, said. After all, we did kick your ass.
And let me put all of these corporations on notice. I'm coming after you too.
How many enemies do you have to have? Why is everything a fight?
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Lunatic with a capital L, calling out in her concession speech, AIPAC, corporations, everybody against her. Meanwhile, this is a woman who was under investigation by House Ethics for payments to her husband in the six-figure range for quote-unquote security, even though he didn't have a security license at all.
Bush has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars since first taking office on private security, even since there first was scrutiny over it. In just the first 9 months of 2023, her campaign spent close to $130,000 on security. That money paid out to a number of individuals and entities for security services. But more than $42,000 in the first 3 quarters of 2023 were paid directly to her husband, Courtney Merritt's, something she has repeatedly defended and did so again to date. But one thing we looked at today, First Alert 4 Investigates has confirmed that Merritt's does not have a security license in the city of St. Louis or the county of St. Louis.
She would typically, in the House, go off, insulting Donald Trump in committee hearings, when she attended committee hearings, that is, and was just generally speaking a complete and utter lunatic whenever we saw her near a camera.
Complete lunatic and blurred lines with hypocrite, because not only was she paying her husband for quote unquote security, she was also a big defund the policer. And she said that she's different because she's a congresswoman and she has a dangerous job or a dangerous lifestyle.
Flashback.
I'm going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend 10 more dollars on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets because we're trying to save lives.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, suck it up, you pores. If you could afford private security at a clip of 6 figures per year, you'd do it too, because these police are just bad, man.
End of flashback.
Yeah, bitch, we all do in the People's Republic of New York and across this country. We all deserve some safety for our families.
Yeah, I mean, she represented St. Louis, by the way, and was replaced by another Democrat, of course, a more moderate Democrat. But the thing that I'm going to miss about Cori Bush is because you can always point at her to be the worst of the worst in Congress. She would never show up to committee hearings, as I said before. She had this hypocritical nature, as you pointed out as well. But anytime she spoke, it was a video for me. It was something I could have used as an option for a video later on, because everything that came out of her mouth was ridiculous. She has a background in, working with BLM, community organizer, and all that stuff. But she basically took on that mantle of privilege that you were talking about. I'm a congresswoman, and therefore I'm different and better. And as we'll be talking about later on when we get to radioactive, just because you're a member of Congress doesn't make you better at all. If anything, it makes you subservient to we the people. We'll get to that in a little while as well. I think she's like the head of the class in the nominations here for Lunatic, pal.
Yeah, and this is why I have a problem sometimes, Mr. Berardelli, when we throw people like Lauren Boebert or some other certain Republicans in for some of these categories. So when you look at people like Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush and AOC, they are like completely insane, right? Like our Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, okay, she's nuts, but she's nowhere near as nuts as these people, right? I don't want to make excuses for our side, but come on.
Well, no. Well, I'm going to challenge this right now. Let me give you my argument. When you make the jump from, let's say, here to here, that's significant because you were low and you made a middle jump. But when you're already up here and you just go a little bit more, I think that's not as noticeable. It takes a big leap to be noticed as a buffoon. So if someone who is normal 90% of the time, let's say, or when it comes to Lauren Boebert, let's say 50% of the time, whatever, when she's not, performing sex acts in a theater, or when she's not changing districts or whatever, when she has that movement from the lower ranks up significantly, that to me means more than a buffoon doing something a little buffoonish that's known to be at the top of the ladder there. Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman are here because they were already up here and they ratcheted it up to 11 and made a bigger move. Lauren Boebert and RFK Jr. and other people on there that are normally reasonable, they made a move that raised an eyebrow because they're normally that low. And when they reach up to another level, it's got to get called out.
All right, I can buy that because I'm about to break my own rules tonight, so I'm with you.
Yes, and we'll be talking about hypocrites later on as well. I'm going to throw this all together with another member of the squad, but Rashida Tlaib, and I would say all of those protesters and pro-Hamas supporters on college campuses, they go hand in hand because they both suffer from the same lunacy. I would say that Tlaib is a little more insidious because she knowingly parrots the talking points of a terrorist organization. I can give a little more forgiveness to a college student caught up in a movement on campus that doesn't really know any better, hasn't had any lived experience or anything like that, for parroting what's going on out in the world and being on the side of a cause that they think is going to give them more credibility as the liberal they are. But anyone who is out there being an apologist for Hamas, they gotta go. They're lunatics.
No, 100%. I don't give much deference to those college protesters. I think they should burn in hell too. But Tlaib, in particular, she runs around claiming to be a quote unquote Palestinian, but yet is a member of the squad and is a far left lunatic who would be stoned to death in her own homeland if she espoused a lot of the views there that she does here. So yeah, she's nuts.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm looking for a video now. We did do a video. Actually, you know what? I'll plug it in later. But we did a video of the protests happening outside Columbia. And I don't know if it was this year or last year, but it was basically one of those chants where someone chants something and they repeat it back. And it was co-opted by a lot of these communist organizations that embed into these protests and all that. And they were talking about, Hamas, we love you, and things like that. I'll put it in on replay right here. Now, if you look at the still frame here, you see there are some of the pre-made signs from these protest organizations like Answer Coalition and Socialist and Liberation Group that we were talking about earlier. It's that yellow and black one you see right by the wall of the subway stairs there. So clearly this is one of those co-opted protest chants. But to me, that sort of blind following is another form of lunacy because they're being triggered by something they don't even realize they're being triggered by and allowing themselves to be emotionally hijacked in that process.
Yeah, completely irrational maniac she is. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, and it breeds other hot messes, really, that we talked about a couple weeks ago, to become these lunatics.
So this is dominated by the squad here, this category, I see.
To me, this is another sort of late entry into this, or maybe not. But I think that if we're talking about the squad or members who are influenced by the squad or whatever, a person that distinguished themselves as a lunatic and established themselves that way, Jasmine Crockett. We talked about her a couple of weeks ago with the whole run-in with Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC with fake eyelashes and the cattiness going back and forth on them.
Loved it.
I loved it too. And just recently she's been, crowing about Trump and sort of marking her territory to be the latest loudmouth in Congress to just go after Trump for no reason. I think she's worthy of being the lunatic.
She's nuts. They played a clip earlier today on TV. I hate this guy's fucking name, but he calls himself Charlemagne the God. And he was interviewing Ms. Crockett, and she went on a rant about how Elon Musk bought the presidency with $250 million. And to his credit, Charlemagne says, well, if you think he bought the presidency with $250 million, what did the vice president do with over $1 billion? And there was no answer, no coherent answer.
No answer at all. There can't be an answer. She actually went online today. I'm going to see if I can pull this up while we're talking here. But I noticed a tweet that she made. about Elon being sort of like the shadow president. It seems like everyone is saying that. That's sort of the party line here. And I just found it right now. Let me see if I can find my reply to it. So her tweet was, which branch of government does Elon belong to? Asking for a friend. And the response was, from a lot of people, he doesn't need to be part of it. He's part of we the people. It's the most important branch of the government.
Of the people, by the people, for the people. He's one of the people.
Absolutely. There was another one here. Let me, I just found my response here. I'm going to see if I can get this up on screen for us right now. Right, so let me see if I can get this on screen. Got to remember how to do all this stuff with the bells and whistles now, pal.
He's on the fly, boys. He's on the fly.
Yeah, look out now. Here we go. Okay, if you can see it on the screen, Jasmine Crockett, which branch of government does Elon belong to? Asking for a friend. And my response, which doesn't get any traction because, you know, when you talk to a member of Congress, nothing gets traction. Let me help the slow congresswoman here. Elon Musk is one of the people, as in we the people from which the three branches of government, one of which you serve in, were empowered. You're not above we the people, ma'am. You are subordinate to us. Hope that helps.
Brilliant.
I think it's the right thing to say.
Which
right?
branch of government was Rachel Maddow in, or Joe Scarborough in, or George Clooney in, right? Or not Shakira. Who's the other one that was supposedly going to sing at the DNC?
I mean, the Beyonce, Megan
Beyonce.
Stallion.
Which branch of government are they in?
Yeah.
Robert De Niro. I can go on and on.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Absolutely. Any one of them. But their influence is on their side. You know, Jasmine Crockett loves it when people agree with her on her own side of the aisle. But God forbid a billionaire with an opinion like Elon Musk steps in and says something. And he is the media as well now. I mean, one of the things he loves saying now is we are the media, being we as in everyone on X. And he has his opinion and people listen to it. Just like any other influencer out there.
I have to just make a note here, Gene. I can't help but notice, but 3 of the 4 people that we've nominated here are women. I think you're a sexist. Although Jamal Bowman's video, I think he has this category sealed up.
Oh, listen, I'm sexist, I'm racist, I'm misogynist, I'm every-ist in this.
They're all women and people of color, Gene. I got to say, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we made up for that by nominating RFK Jr. and Lauren Boebert in other categories as well. We are equal opportunity offenders for Buffoon of the Year. If you did something stupid, we're coming for you, as you'll see in the segments to come as well.